All right, it's good to go. Ayman, welcome to the ATL Podcast. First question that I always ask my guest is, how are you?
I am good.
Good. We would love to hear from you. Who is Ayman Al-Hamrawi? Your age, your background, what's your major?
So, probably just a small introduction of myself. My name is Ayman. I am a student of first year baccalaureate. I major in maths. I am 16. And of course, I have various hobbies, stuff I enjoy to do. But overall, I'm just an ordinary person, nothing special.
All right, smooth introduction. It's good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
We would love to shed lights on. You've mentioned science maths, majoring in science maths. We would want to focus more on talking about that major. Um, what what um, what motivated you to pursue your studies in science maths?
I mean, me personally, it's been like a long time since I decided on this because my family supposedly all majored in maths, and it was basically more of a family thing than a personal opinion or a personal choice. And like at the end of the like what was last year,
Common Core.
the Common Core, right? I had like my doubts if I wanted to major in maths or I wanted to go into the other majors because overall I was super lazy. I couldn't do any work. All I do was probably lay in bed. That's all I do. So I was kind of contemplating whether I should or should not major in it. But at the end of the day, I was like, I have to do this for the sake of it since it kind of pushes me forward. And it's overall a good decision for my future.
And you mentioned that it's a family thing.
Yeah,
Don't you think that whenever there is um, some choices laying on the table by the family would somehow positively or negatively affect the choice of a student in his or her life?
totally. Totally,
And
yeah.
how come you kept following your family's choice, which is science maths, into how would you see that beneficial for you? You mentioned that you're lazy. I don't think science maths major uh, is for
Lazy
lazy
people.
students and
Yeah.
lazy people, but
I mean, first of all, let's put this like thing on the ground first. I am good at maths. This is something like I can be based on right now. I got good grades in maths. I was first in my class in maths, at least my class. So like my teachers pushed me into this major. It was not just something as a like whatever I can say that my family pushed onto me or whatever. Most of my teachers recommended me there. I was at the end of the day, I was like ready for it. I took my decision that I wanted to do this because I told you like it kind of pushes me, and I know I'm lazy by nature, so I probably need something to push me forward towards my
mm,
goals. And this major kind of like puts you on the pressure. It puts you under immense pressure to actually achieve. It's not
mm,
like it's just letting you go, like letting you do whatever you want.
I see, I see. And are you still keeping that side of you of
Yeah,
laziness, or
yeah.
you try to? Are
I haven't changed one bit. Well, I think I
are
need.
you facing any challenges because of that laziness? Now we're talking about too many hours that should be uh, dedicated to hard working only, talking about physics, maths, and other difficult subjects. Are there any challenges to the type,
I
to the
mean,
laziness
as of now,
character?
I'm managing myself. I study whenever I have to. I don't study always, like because most of my teachers tell me that I need to keep a rhythm. Like I have to always study at least 2 hours dedicated a day, or 3 hours or 4 hours. But I genuinely don't study at all. Like I go home, I sleep, I wake up, I eat, and I go back to sleep.
Oh,
I'm mentally tired from whatever happens in school, so I just go home and rest. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing by sleeping too much.
you are definitely doing the wrong things because
But
to me you look like you're taking pride on what you're doing. Like, you do you consider yourself being a genius? Because if you said
no,
I am a science math student,
hell no.
but I don't put any hard works behind that. It's just by nature.
No, I feel like most
How are
of
you
the time.
balancing between?
Hold on, like how I'm balancing it is basically I just pay attention in class. The good thing about me is whenever I need to pay attention, I can put that work in. So whenever like there's something I have to pay attention to in class, I just focus and lock in it, and that most of the time works well for me. But revision is also a big thing. Like you're not gonna tell me that you're gonna get good grades if you don't put a certain time of revision.
Sure.
For sure, that's true.
Yeah, it's
Like if you're
important.
not gonna like refresh your mind at least, I mean, for me, I do it like 2 days before exam or the day before the exam. I know it's weird, but it's just my personal thing.
Whoever is watching would want to follow the same
No,
path, but
I don't recommend. I do not
people are
recommend.
different.
Yeah, I do
The
not
way you
recommend this
acquire
lifestyle.
knowledge is different than the
Yeah,
way I do, the way other students do. It's
true.
a completely different method, a way for people to acquire knowledge. All right. So is there any, so since it's a family thing, talking about science maths, have you thought of a career to pursue later, or you just are thinking about now being a science math student, and then next year again science math student, then after baccalaureate I might go for this path or this path, or there is a dream, for example, work or job that you want to pursue after baccalaureate or after whatever school or university you go to?
I mean, first of all, I believe that the thing of fixing yourself on a certain path is not always the right thing, because being too over focused on something can actually ruin your life. And this is true, by the way, because some people like put their whole energy into going into a certain path. For example, they want to major in medicine or whatever. They put all their energy into medicine, and when they don't get in, they don't get accepted, they just fall apart. They just break down.
I see.
It's I think this is like a bad thing. You should probably have more than one option. And for me, I have more than one option, of course, but I feel like I do want to major in medicine because, first of all, I'm kind of lazy. And medicine, I know it takes time, it takes work, but I feel like I'm already gifted somewhat in learning about people's anatomy or anything that involves
I see.
science, physics.
I see. All right. So this question is very important, and I really want you to pay um, close attention on how you answer back to me. We're talking about from now to 5 or to 10 years. Do you think these upcoming generations would somehow um, contribute to the major of science maths? Because we are talking about uh, somehow a difficult major. It requires difficult uh, working hours and high concentration, high pressure. Do you think these upcoming generations would somehow contribute to that field?
You know what? I feel like I'm kind of scared for the next generations, especially on what's going on in our brains. I'm a victim too. I scroll TikTok for most of the day. It's true, it's true. I'm not lying, I'm being honest.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes, like, your attention span is someday gonna get abruptly so bad that you won't have the chance to even focus or whatever. It's gonna break our brains someday, I'm sure. That's why I feel like I'm a bit scared for the next generations. Although there's always hope for people who are gonna succeed, or for people who are actually gifted, or let's just not say gifted, but people who are willing to work hard.
Yeah, talking about those people, those students, are they increasing or decreasing? Because
The working hard
let's talk
students,
percentage here.
which ones?
The science maths students
I feel like they're gonna be increasing. I'm sure.
increasing
I'm sure. Yeah.
because of what, or based on what?
Based on what?
Yeah,
Based on how information is portrayed so easily these days. I feel like long ago, like if you want to major in maths, you probably need to already have a baggage or something that helps you from a long time ago, from like from whenever you were 8, 9.
Mm.
But now I feel like most kids have a bit of culture. Like they know stuff, they know what they're talking about, and most of them are actually smart. They're not just hardworking or willing. So I feel like we're going through a tough patch of how people's personalities are gonna develop. I feel like it's gonna be good.
All right. Um, uh, do you think? No, in what language are you receiving education? Talking about
Right
maths
now,
and physics, yeah,
mostly French.
mostly French. Don't you think English would be much easier or better to be used as a tool to communicate uh, the knowledge in those subjects?
I feel like it doesn't really matter.
How and why?
How and why?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. We have science majors right now, right?
hmm
They study in French. Do you think if the system changes and they start studying in English, they're gonna decrease?
Well, we're comparing languages. When we're comparing languages, we're talking about the future.
Yeah.
Talking about the future, we're talking about powerful countries and powerful sources of languages. Which language in here contains or has
Potential
more knowledge in the market
in the market
or
right now.
more opportunities in the
I think it's
market?
mostly English and Chinese.
And
It's probably languages that everyone can speak, languages that can get you around. Like, if you know how to speak English, I think you can get around most of the world. It's well needed right now in our society.
we're not talking about just the language to
Yeah,
communicate
yeah.
and try to get the needs you have. We're talking about a language through which one can use to receive education. We're talking about this era, the last 20 years or last 15 years. It's like an era of the English language.
Mm-hmm.
People keep talking about English is gonna replace French. French is no longer needed. Why? Because we have these particular reasons. Once you go to higher education, you find most resources in English. You want to pursue your master's degree, you need English. PhD, you need English. So we are talking. Once you get your license, for example, master's degree, PhD degree, it goes without saying that there will
You
come
need
a
English.
day
Yeah.
to use that particular language. And the problem would be if you spend your 6 or 10 years just studying in that particular language, how can you survive when there is another language in front of you?
You do make a valid point, but I feel like it's mostly subjective because English is a language you need everywhere. I mean, you need English. It is something that you're gonna have to use when you grow older. But I feel like other languages are also also as important. Like if we're talking about, for example, right now how the Chinese language is a it's upgoing popularity and
For
whatever.
sure, because we're talking about China as a place.
Yes, because of
I don't
its
think if you go
economy and
to
whatever,
other places like Brazil or Spain
you're
or
gonna need
wherever
Chinese
you're
now.
communicating. So because Chinese, because
Yeah,
they are between 2 billion or something population around the world. So that's why it is more popular.
yeah,
But here I'm talking about English because of the sources of the knowledge it has behind. And here you talk about French.
yeah.
Don't you see also that most of teachers tend to explain in, even if you're majoring in maths, as I call it, BIOF, it's like French should be the main focus
Focus. Yeah.
language to explain the
They
lessons
still explain in
to.
Arabic. Of course.
Why? Well, what would be the challenge thinking here? This is because of the language competency, which is very low in the class, or because you tend to understand the lessons more in the language which is your mother tongue, which is Arabic.
Uh, it's probably because it's our mother tongue and it's easier to understand. Like, you can't say that a second language to you is gonna be more understandable than a language you've spoken for your whole life. Like from the point you're born, you speak Arabic, you converse in Arabic, you talk Arabic, you need Arabic in your daily life. So I feel like it's an easier language to get the message through.
If you're getting the message too, what about the resources we're talking about in here?
What do you mean resources?
If you want to understand the lesson, which is maths lesson or physics lesson, would you find resources, knowledge more in French or in Arabic?
To be real, probably in English.
All right, so that leads us to the question that we asked before.
Yeah.
Would you think English would be an alternative way or a successful alternative to teach those subjects?
This brings me back to my point that English is probably something that you're gonna need and you should probably learn it. I mean, let's give a brief example again. Are you familiar with developing whatever that has to do with computer science?
For sure.
The language is based on words and algorithm, right? The words are all English.
Mm-hmm.
You don't use words in other languages. All the words are based off the English language or the old Latin language or the Germanic languages. That's my point. It's probably something you're gonna need, and it's the future. English is a big thing right now in our world, and like if you have the chance to learn English to a certain level, you should.
Mm.
It's a big thing because English is what's gonna get you around in the future. It's not French, it's not Arabic, it's not another language.
Talking about what part in here? Talking about is going to get you bright in the future in
Yeah.
terms of what?
In terms of everything, communication, job opportunities, more options for you, probably even relationship statuses or whatever.
That's important. Yeah.
You need language. You need language, and especially English, since now it's become universal. Everyone speaks English to get around. Whenever you go to another country, basically pick a country.
Portugal.
If you go to Portugal, do you speak Portuguese?
No.
So what language are you gonna communicate to them with?
The one both of us understand.
Speak, and that's probably gonna be English.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
universal.
For sure. For sure. How could you give a piece of advice to people to learn English? Like what are the steps
I feel like
one can do to?
I think this is something that lots of people relate to. I feel like English just popped in my head.
How? There isn't anything called like popping in my head.
It just
like,
popped in my
no,
head someday.
that
I woke up one day and I knew English.
No, I
I'm
couldn't.
serious.
As an English teacher,
So many people relate to this. I'm telling you.
Ah.
I just woke up one day and I knew how to speak English. I'm not even joking. But I think
there was a very long process that you were doing long before that day when English popped into your head, because like your mother tongue.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that the whole 2 years a child spends with his family is not or she's not acquiring the language. Like they spend 2 years, 3 years acquiring the language, and then in the third or the fourth year, they were somehow able to communicate and talk and say those sentences, construct them. Like there isn't anything called English. It just popped into my head. Did you pick it up? No, I didn't. It's just I wake up and they say, "Hey, good morning," and then there must be an explanation behind that. Now, give me a real and a reasonable explanation. What was the process?
First of all,
you've been watching movies, or you've been doing this and that, reading, listening. Like, what was the process?
I genuinely believe that I spoke English before French. This is like personal thing, but my cousins, my brother, which was also like a year and a half older than me, my parents, my grandfather, my other cousins from the other side, I guess, my uncle, they all actually spoke English for their jobs. And what mostly influenced me a lot is my cousins, because they watched shows in English, or at least let's say they watched anime, I guess, with subtitles in English. And sometimes I tuned in to watch with them, and I asked them around, like, what language is this? I don't understand. They keep telling me it's English.
How old were you?
This, I remember, like, I was
4.
four.
So you
Yeah,
got introduced to English when you were 4.
I think a bit younger, but this is what I have in my mind right now.
Let's take a model age, 4.
Yeah. I feel like I started watching YouTube videos, movies, even though I didn't understand. I feel like the language spoke to me.
So you said it popped into your head, but why didn't it pop to your head when you were 4?
Like, I don't have memories of when I was 4 and beyond. Like, I don't have specific timelines.
So that's what I was saying. It's like it was a long process
Yeah,
that leads you to
come on, I
being able to
believe that,
communicate.
but I just told you like the right expression that it popped into my head.
Yeah, it means you didn't make efforts to.
Exactly.
You just acquired
I
it.
just acquired the language.
We are talking about how did you acquire the language,
It's a
which
process.
is
Of course, it's a process.
through listening or
Listening, I like read books. I was interested in many stuff when I was a kid. I was actually like kind of weird.
weirdo when you were how old?
My whole childhood. I just like, I'm also weird right now, but I'm closeted a bit.
You are.
Okay, thank you. I needed to hear that. But even though like I was weird, not in a bad way, of course, I just like loved many stuff. I wanted to learn. I loved exploring, loved finding out new stuff, new things. Like, I'm talking like this, I feel like I'm kind of autistic, to be real.
Really?
I'm
This is the first time I'm hearing that. Does everybody know or test you or you believe or based on
no,
what?
hold on. That's not autistic people like have a superior sense of imagination.
Not all. You must be diagnosed with that. Like a doctor, certified doctor would say, we did this test and then it turned out that you are autistic. You can just say, yeah, I'm autistic. And like, you expect us to believe. Like based on what?
I am not autistic, but I do feel like it.
All right, there are some tests online that
What
you
do you
might
mean there are
take.
some tests online? Are you actually doubting me that I'm autistic?
You go take them and then bring me a certified doctor saying that you are autistic, then I'm gonna believe you.
I am not autistic. I'm just weird a bit.
Yeah, everybody has that side of him or her that he shows his, craziness and weird something among very close friends, but among everybody else, you act
Yeah.
normal. All right. The follow-up question would be, you gave us now advice on how to or how you learn the language. Suppose that there are some middle school students that are watching us and want to pursue as science math students once they are in high school. What's the process they must start doing from now, whether in 7th, 8th, or 9th grade, or even Common Core, to be a science math student? Like, what are the challenges or difficulties you face that now you said to yourself, I wished I started earlier, I wish I paid attention here more than this, and I did something different than other things? Like, what's a piece of advice you could give to them?
I genuinely believe that you need one thing. It's probably concentration. Concentration is a big thing. Like, if you can concentrate on something for, let's say, 2 hours lecture, whatever, if you can do that, congrats, you can major in math.
We need extra things. Like, what's an extra thing? Because everybody might say I can concentrate, but what's an extra? What are extra efforts that one can put to achieve those goals of pursuing this major or doing that major?
Working on yourself, I guess. Probably putting in the time and effort. Nothing comes naturally, of course. Like, if you want to pursue something, you need time and effort. You need to sacrifice stuff for it. It's not gonna come to you, or you need the will for it. You need certain willpower. But I feel like our maths teacher kind of instilled a philosophy or an ideology on us that everyone can major in maths, no matter how you are or how smart you are, how late you comprehend information. if you have the will for it, if you can work for it, you can achieve it. And I feel like this is good words of motivation or
Two important keywords you said: concentration
concentration.
and the will.
Yeah.
Important behind whatever field
You need will
you
for
want to
everything.
pursue. For sure, because it's the only thing that pushes you every day.
Yeah.
Because motivation, you might have a low motivation today. I don't feel like working, but once you think that, oh, I have a will that pushes me towards my goals, towards achieving those goals, then I'm gonna stand up and do the thing that must be done, and then try to work. Amen. I wish I could have a longer podcast with you, but I think this podcast has come to an end. I really enjoyed talking to you. There are so many other things to talk about. I would love to close with the question of, we talked about
Yeah.
English, maths, generations, etc. Let's talk about a very important question, which is, how do you see um, education in Morocco? And you as a student, what are the things that we as teachers or schools must do or must take into consideration to make education better, let alone the government and the ministry, etc.? We, as the people that are in the field, what are the things that must be taken into consideration to make it better?
I feel like the whole education system needs a change. This is not my opinion, of course. It's a public opinion. It's a reality. But I feel like some teachers push too much on the students, or most of the students you ask who actually hated a certain subject just tell you that a certain teacher made me hate this, certain teacher made
Made
me
me love
lose the
this.
love for it.
Don't forget that certain teacher made me love that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
also
true.
important.
It goes both ways, of course.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. But I feel like teachers need to be more patient with students, especially like in public schools. In private schools, we don't have this as much. In private schools, we have teachers who actually try to comprehend us, try to get how we're feeling. But in public schools, if you're unlucky, you meet a certain type of teacher that will not help you, or probably just gonna make you hate yourself for even being there. I feel like that needs a lot of work from the government, because the government right now just lets anyone get their license as teachers and lets them teach without even knowing how they can work with students, they can talk to them, they can make them like have more motivation to learn. I feel like we need to work on this a lot more.
All right. Great answer. Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I hope to see you again
Yeah.
in another episode of this podcast. It means a lot to have you with us today. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We finished this podcast, and now we are hitting the road back home.
Home.